Welcome to H2K Infosys. H2K Infosys is a e-verify business based in Atlanta, Georgia, United States. We provide 100% job-oriented, instructor-led, face-to-face, true live online software training programs. It also includes access to cloud test lab with software tools. We provide live project for you to work on. We also provide assistance with mock interviews, resume preparation and review, and job placement assistance. H2K Infosys is trusted by so many students across the world. H2K Infosys provides world-class services in IT training with real-time project work for corporates and individuals, special IT training for MS students in the United States, software design, development, QA manual and automation, performance testing and maintenance, IT staff augmentation, job placement assistance, and tech support.
So that means my login page will call directly the save user details, and save user details will call save employee, and the save employee issue and insert query to the database, and it will save the details to our employee table. Login page. Enter some details. Anyway, these are not used. We are only interested about this particular one. Here you can see that Hibernate employee details save query, and it has issued insert into employee with all the details: employee first name, last name, designation, salary, are all the column details, and it has passed the data dynamically. We already know about question mark symbol. This will be used by Hibernate to pass the actual value, whatever that you have set within your employee object. So let us go and verify in the database whether it has inserted or not. So you can see that the employee object that got inserted to your database. If you forgot to call transaction.commit, it will issue an insert query, but it won't commit the data. So that means the record won't be available in the memory. Let us go and execute one more time. This time you got an exception. What is the exception here? Could not execute JDBC batch update constraint violation exception. So this time also we are trying to insert the data by using 110 only, and corresponding to 110 there is already one record available within our database. So that means you can't use a static information for the primary key, even though you can use for any type of columns, but primary key, it was supposed to be generated automatically. So by using Java code, and also it's not possible for us to ask the user to provide the employee ID. We are the one supposed to provide the employee ID and provide it back to the client. To generate the primary key on our own, there are several options from Hibernate side. We can use Hibernate generator classes, which will generate the primary key. When we are declaring the XML file, Come back to our hpm.xml file. So here you can see that during our ID element, we have mentioned that ID element was pointed to this column, and also we have mentioned that the generator class is assigned. So here the generator tag specifies what kind of or what type of generator algorithm that you want to use to generate the primary key. There are several options that are provided by Hibernate. Assigned means the primary key won't be generated by the Hibernate, and you are supposed to provide the primary key manually. That's what we have done by using setEmployeeID method. If you go for other algorithms, if you click on control space, it will provide you whatever that was available. We are discussing about the registration page, Isha. So during the registration page means it's our responsibility to provide the primary key back to the user. User won't be able to provide any primary keys like employee ID. He can only provide username, password, first name and last name, salary and designation. So when we say control space, you can see that these are the options that are available for generating the primary key. We had discussed about the first one, assign, and there are several others available. And here you can see that sequence. When you say sequence, normally Oracle contains the sequence generation. Whenever you are using Oracle, or you can say DB2 also, I guess it will support sequences. You can specify a param. The param name will be your sequence name, and you will specify the sequence value here. So you will specify that I'm going to use the sequence, and you will specify the parameter value, the name of the sequence here. Name of the sequence here itself directly. When you are going for some other strategy, let us say you are going for Hilo algorithm. Hilo algorithm, it will be based on high-low value algorithm. This will read the parameters from the database. In the database, you will create a table and you will create a column, and the table and column will be specified here. Let us say you have created table and you have created a column. And you will specify maximum limit or minimum limit for your primary key. So Hibernate will use this particular table and column details, and it will read the parameter value from the table. And once after that, it will increment the value of the column for the next usage. Whenever you want to provide some kind of information, you just need to use the lower element, which is nothing but your param element. That is the only element available for your generator. And the next one is native. Native means it will select the best option. Currently, these are the options that are available. Based on the database, the primary key generation strategy will be selected by your Hibernate itself. So either to go by the identity algorithm or for some other like select algorithm or sequence algorithm, it will be based on the database that we are using. UUID means it's a 128-bit encryption key that will be generated automatically by your Hibernate. Foreign, if at all, if you don't have a primary key and you are referring to some other table or some other assignment object, then you can go for foreign and you can mention the table details and the corresponding column, and the primary key will be generated based on the other table. See, currently we can't create a sequence within our MySQL database. MySQL won't support sequence. That's the reason we are only going for assign based on our level. If you have changed the database, it will be easy to use sequence algorithm, and you can specify the name of the sequence here, and it will get generated automatically the sequence value.
Are you saying that we cannot retrieve the data based on any other column now?
We'll discuss about those steps. Currently, it's not possible by using get or load, but there are several other options that we are going to discuss it now itself.
Okay.
Yeah, but by using get or load, yes, you are correct. We can't retrieve the data other than primary key.
So the user has to remember the primary key.
Exactly, if you go for get or load.
Okay.
If you use a standard SQL statement to insert, we can skip the ID and it will add the auto-generated key itself. There is nothing similar to that in Hibernate. No, you need to specify to the Hibernate which generation that you want to use to generate the primary key, or else it will throw null pointer exception specifying that you didn't specify a primary key, and database will specify that. Database will throw an exception for constraint violation exception that you are going to insert a null value which is not allowed. Flush method. Flush method is just like how we have used in our IO streams. Once we have written something to the buffer, and if there is some data left at that place, we'll call the flush method, which will flush the whole data from the buffer to the actual stream. Here, flushing means the process of synchronizing the underlying persistent store, nothing but your database. Whenever you are querying get method or load method, you will get the data, or you'll get the object which is, or you'll get a persistent object. Persistent object means at any point of time, your Hibernate will guarantee that whatever the information corresponding to the row or corresponding to the primary key, currently, let us say you have retrieved some information based on session.get of employee ID 20. And once after that, you are making some changes to the employee object. See, once you have queried, you'll get an employee object. Let us say you are performing set employee or set designation value. That means you are trying to change the value of designation. Let us say from lead to you are changing to manager. So you got a promotion and the rate, and we are updating the status or designation to manager. But currently this employee object is a persistent object, nothing but whenever you are calling by using get or load method, Hibernate will provide a persistent object, nothing but Hibernate will make sure that whatever the changes that you made on the persistent object, it will be reflected back to the persistent store, nothing but your database. So when you change this data, let us say you have changed the object status here. You have changed the Hibernate object status. Changing the status means you have changed a property. That means whatever the previous information that was retrieved from the database, it was not at the same level now. When you call session.flush method, the flush method verifies is there any Hibernate object associated with this session ID, with this session object. Currently, there is one session object available, and if the session object was persistent object or not. Currently, the employee object was a persistent object. Did you make any changes to this? Yes, I made some changes to this. That means currently my entity object, which was available on the Hibernate session, and the corresponding database row are not in sync. Then Hibernate will issue an update query to make sure that both are in sync. Both means Hibernate object which was available in the session and the corresponding row in the database. So whenever you call a session.flush method, the flush method verifies whether both the stuff, the session object, the Hibernate session object and the database row, whether they are in sync or not. If they are not in sync, then it will issue a update query so that both will be in sync before closing the session. Let me find out an image. Okay, I couldn't able to locate. Probably it was available in my office system. Each and every Hibernate object will consist of a life cycle. Hibernate object nothing but whenever you are querying the session, by using session, you are applying any kind of methods like insert, update, delete, or any kind of those methods. So the returned object from the Hibernate query will consist of a life cycle. There are three parts or three stages for Hibernate object. The first one is persistent object, and the second one is transient object, and the third one is detached object. Persistent object, the object was associated with a session. Nothing but whenever you made any changes, Hibernate will guarantee that the changes will reflect back to the database. So currently, what are all the changes that you made within the session? So that means, let us say you have called session.get method or load method and you got some employee. Just now only we have seen this case. And if you make any changes and before performing the session.close, and if you call session.flush, the flush method will make sure that what are all the changes that you made, change some parameter. What are all the changes that you made to the session object, Hibernate object, that will be reflected back to the database. Transient means object was not associated with session. And the last one, detached. Previously, it was available in the session, but now it was detached. That means the session has closed, but still the object exists. Let us take a look at this case itself. Currently, our employee, I'm setting it to employee ID 111, and I have called session.save method, which has issued an insert query. And once after that, let us say I'm changing some information to the employee object. Set designation to manager. And now, if I call session.flush method, now if I call session.flush method, or let us say, don't work at this level. Come back to our get method. So from our get method, employee dot set designation, change this to manager. I'll retrieve the information corresponding to 110 only. Okay. If the employee was not returned from this place itself, or else this will change the designation value, and this time I'm calling session.flush method, which will sync the database, and it will update the manager value, sorry, the designation value to the manager. So come back to our login processor. This was fine. Come back to our servlet. So in our servlet, don't call this one, call this one only. So call our login page one more time. So our employee ID is 110 and the password is password. So you can see that the designation manager has displayed. Anyway, this was returned from our object itself. So let us verify in the database. It hasn't updated, but it has issued update query. Select query it has issued. Once after that, employee details retrieved using Hibernate query. It has issued update employee, set employee name. Did we perform transaction.commit before? Where is our DAO class? The reason for that is previously we have mentioned one thing. Whenever we are using insert or update or delete, we need to start a transaction and we need to commit the transaction. But currently with our get query, with our update query, we haven't placed the transaction. So even though it has issued the update query, it hasn't committed the transaction, whatever the update has made. If you don't want to start a transaction and close at this level, you can go back to your Hibernate configuration file, and here itself you can mention that Hibernate dot connection dot auto commit property to true. Auto commit to true. So this will commit the database directly. Where can we read the values of question mark? See, whatever the data that we are passing, that will be replaced by the Hibernate, and it will create the prepared statement call. So let us go and execute one more time. Let me confirm the property name, whether it is auto commit or auto underscore commit. I'm not sure about that. Auto commit. Yep. Let me execute this one more time. See, when you write auto commit to enabled, so that means for each and every query, by default, it will call the auto commit mode. It will send a response with every execution. If you don't want, then you can just make that as false at that level, and you can enable. You can start a transaction, and you can commit each and every time on your own. So this time also you can see that after select query, it has issued an update query. This time you can see that the manager value got updated by your Hibernate. So we have mentioned that there are three status for our Hibernate object. When you use get or load method, the objects returned by get or load, they are directly the persistent objects. Transient object, nothing means object was not yet associated with the session. That means, come back to our employee DAO. So here, during our save employee method, so the employee object, whatever that we have created, until and unless we call the save method, this object is a transient object until this point. Whatever the changes that you made or whatever that you want to do with respect to the object, that won't interact with the database at all. But when you call the save method, this will become a persistent object now. If you make any changes on this persistent object before closing the session, and if you perform the session.flush, all the changes will get updated back to the database. So that means a transient object can be made persistent by calling save method. There is one another method, save or update. This will also allow to change the status from transient to persist.
So many of our students have given testimonials on how our training programs are. You will find them on kudzu.com and on our website h2kinfosys.com. On our website h2kinfosys.com, you will also find more detailed information on who we are, the courses that we offer, what each course covers. Also, if you're interested in a demo program, please register on our homepage on the left-hand side. Just give us more information about yourself and we will send you a link for a demo class. The demo class is absolutely free. Experience our commitment by just attending an orientation workshop at no cost. Our team of faculty and advisors are here to guide you with the right information. If you still have more questions, please feel free to call us. Call us at 770-777-1269. This is a United States number. If you're calling from the UK, call us at 020-337-17615. You can also email us at training@h2kinfosys.com or h2kinfosys@gmail.com. Thank you for watching our videos. We wish you a great career in information technology.